He who does not enjoy solitude will not love freedom. The life of every individual is really always a tragedy, but gone through in detail, it has the character of a comedy. Life is full of troubles and vexations that one must either rise above it by means of corrected thoughts or leave it. Our life is a loan received from death with sleep as the daily interest on this loan. Every time a man is begotten and born, the clock of human life is wound up anew, to repeat once more its same old tune that has already been played innumerable times, movement by movement and measure by measure, with insignificant variations. In the whole world there is no study so beneficial and so elevating as that of the Upanishads. It has been the solace of my life, it will be the solace of my death. Men are the devils of the earth, and the animals are its tormented souls. Every man takes the limits of his own field of vision for the limits of the world. Almost all of our sorrows spring out of our relations with other people. Man is never happy, but spends his whole life in striving after something which he thinks will make him so. Without books, the development of civilization would have been impossible. They are the engines of change, windows on the world, lighthouses, as the poet said, erected in the sea of time. They are companions, teachers, magicians, bankers of the treasures of the mind. Books are humanity in print. Every miserable fool who is nothing at all, of which he can be proud, adopts as a last resource pride in the nation to which he belongs. He is ready and happy to defend all its faults and follies tooth and nail, thus reimbursing himself for his own inferiority. People of wealth and the so-called upper class suffer the most from boredom. If God made the world, I would not be that God, for the misery of the world would break my heart. Compassion for animals is intimately associated with goodness of character, and it may be confidently asserted that he who is cruel to animals cannot be a good man. The safest way of not being very miserable is not to expect to be very happy. Mostly it is loss which teaches us about the worth of things. Genius and madness have something in common. Both live in a world that is different from that which exists for everyone else. Man is the only animal who causes pain to others with no other object than wanting to so. I know of no more beautiful prayer than that which the Hindus of old used in closing. May all that have life be delivered from suffering. To use many words to communicate few thoughts is everywhere the unmistakable sign of mediocrity. To gather much thought into few words stamps the man of genius. When you look back on your life, it looks as though it were a plot, but when you are into it, it's a mess. Just one surprise after another. Then, later, you see it was perfect. The greatest of follies is to sacrifice health for any other kind of happiness. Wealth is like seawater. The more we drink, the thirstier we become, and the same is true of fame. Thus, the task is not so much to see what no one yet has seen, but to think what nobody yet has thought about that which everybody sees. No rose without a thorn, but many a thorn without a rose. Women remain children all their lives, for They always see only what is near at hand, cling to the present, take the appearance of a thing for reality, and prefer trifling matters to the most important. We may divide thinkers into those who think for themselves and those who think through others. The latter are the rule and the former the exception. The first are original thinkers in a double sense, and egotists in the noblest meaning of the word. To feel envy is human, to savor Schadenfreude is devilish. After your death you will be what you were before your birth. You are free to do what you want, but you are not free to want what you want. You are free to do what you want, but you are not free to want what you want. The wise have always said the same things, and fools, who are the majority, have always done just the opposite. Opinion is like a pendulum and obeys the same law. To be alone is the fate of all great minds, a fate deplored at times, but still always chosen as the less grievous of two evils. Truth is no harlot who throws her arms round the neck of him who does not desire her. On the contrary, she is so core a beauty that even the man who sacrifices everything to her can still not be certain of her favors. The assumption that animals are without rights and the illusion that our treatment of them has no moral significance is a positively outrageous example of Western crudity and barbarity. Universal compassion is the only guarantee of morality. To overcome difficulties is to experience the full delight of existence. What people commonly call fate is mostly their own stupidity. The more unintelligent a man is, the less mysterious existence seems to him. Marrying means to grasp blindfolded into a sack, hoping to find out an eel out of an assembly of snakes. The universe is a dream dreamed by a single dreamer, where all the dream characters dream too. Happiness belongs to those who are sufficient unto themselves, for all external sources of happiness and pleasure are, by their very nature, highly uncertain, precarious, ephemeral, and subject to chance. The shortness of life, so often lamented, may be the best thing about it. The fruits of Christianity were religious wars, butcheries, crusades, inquisitions, extermination of the natives of America, and the introduction of African slaves in their place. Just remember, once you're over the hill you begin to pick up speed. We seldom think of what we have, but always of what we lack. Therefore, rather than grateful, we are bitter. Religion is the masterpiece of the art of animal training, for it trains people as to how they shall think. The person who writes for fools is always sure of a large audience. A high degree of intellect tends to make a man unsocial. Talent hits a target no one else can hit. Genius hits a target no one else can see. We can regard our life as a uselessly disturbing episode in the blissful repose of nothingness. Always to see the general in the particular is the very foundation of genius. A pessimist is an optimist in full possession of the facts. Education perverts the mind, since we are directly opposing the natural development of our mind by obtaining ideas first and observations last. This is why so few men of learning have such sound common sense as is quite common among the illiterate. A man can be himself only so long as he is alone, and if he does not love solitude, he will not love freedom, for it is only when he is alone that he is really free. The majority of men are not capable of thinking but only of believing, and are not accessible to reason, but only to authority. It is difficult to find happiness within oneself, but it is impossible to find it anywhere else. The tallest oak tree once was an acorn that any pig could have swallowed. All truth passes through 3 stages. First, it is ridiculed. Second, it is violently opposed. Third, it is accepted as being self-evident. It is difficult to find happiness within oneself, but it is impossible to find it anywhere else.